Hey friends, welcome back to Mark Kelly Farm. We're going to do a project today with the Toro zero turn, the Timecutter. What we're going to do is we're going to put a battery maintainer onto the mower because it sits for a long time in the winter. It's already been sitting for, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months since the last time we've mowed the lawn. And I moved the mower the other day and I noticed that the battery's getting a little bit low. So everything else we have is on a maintainer. The mower is pretty much the last thing that hasn't got one on it. So we want to put one on there so when we go to mow the lawn, it's going to start and we won't have any issues. And we're putting a maintainer on it that just stays on it. It'll be dedicated to that machine. And all we got to do is plug it in the winter. Now during the summer, when you're running it, every week or even more often, it runs enough to where you don't need a maintainer. So just in the winter, once you winterize the machine, that's when you want to plug it in. And that maintainer will maintain that battery. It'll cycle. It's only 1.5 amps, like a trickle charge, but it's also automatic. So make sure you get an automatic maintainer, because if it's not automatic, it puts a constant charge into the battery and you'll end up screwing your battery up. So let's get with it and we'll show you how we're going to do it. So this is a maintainer that we purchased. We got this at Napa. Fairly reasonably priced. It's around the $30 range. Not too bad. And it's got the connections where you just hardwire it into your battery post. So the wire with the red on the end goes to your power, and the positive side, and the wire with the black end on it goes to the negative side. Now you'll need to look at your mower and make sure that you're a negative ground, because there's some screwball stuff sometimes it's positive ground, so you'd have to make sure of that. But I think if you go by, I believe if you go by just the polarity on the battery, you're okay, because that's the way it's going to charge. But if you got any questions about that, it's all in the instructions here. So let's go over to the mower and get things started. Now, if you need to move your mower for any reason, when the thing's turned off, it's winterized, so I don't want to turn this thing on to move it. So to move a hydrostat drive zero turn mower, and I don't know if it's different on other brands, but this one here, you see these little metal, kind of a push-pull rod down here. You're going to want to push those in and lock it. There's a little nub on that shaft that locks in a little slot back here. And there's one of these on both sides. And if you're confused, you can see the instructions right here. In is to push, pull it out to mow. You got to do that. But that's not the only thing you got to do. You also have to put your handles in the neutral position on both sides. And then you got to turn the key on to release the electric brakes. So let's turn the key and you'll hear that release. Okay, did you hear that? That's your electric brakes releasing. And now you can move the mower freely. So if you turn the key off, you'll wait a second and you'll hear that re-engage. There you go. So, now that this thing's where we want to work on it, you want to pull the seat up. We got to put our handles back out because they're in the way. So pull your seat up, and the seat's automatically going to lock for you in that position. So we're going to get things ready to mount that battery maintainer. All right, so we're back at the battery here. The charger comes with this little bracket. Now this bracket is designed to go underneath your battery, and then your charger would bolt to this on either side, or if there's room on the front or the back. There's no room on the back on this battery, and this is a really tall battery. On the front we have a linkage arm here that's in the way, and then it's kind of be hard to reach here on the side. So this battery has a regular like bungee type connection that holds the battery in. It's factory that way. So what I did is I put the bolts up through the bracket and then I shoved it in underneath this rubber snubber. I'm going to put the battery maintainer on this and then tighten the nuts up that'll squeeze it onto this bungee and keep it from moving around. So let me get that done and we'll show you what it looks like. So we have our maintainer connected with the bracket underneath, going underneath that bungee. And these are nylock nuts, locking nuts. So vibration, they will not come loose. And if you wanted to redneck this up a little more than I did, you could rotate the charger 90 degrees and then use zip ties through these holes, like 2 of them on each side, going around that rubber snubber. And you could do that. That way, if you ever wanted to take it loose, you just cut those zip ties with wire cutters and this thing will come right out. I recommend you using heavier zip ties. If you do that, don't use really light, flimsy ones. So we have our power cord right here. So what I've done is I've disconnected my negative post on the battery. And anytime you're working on automotive or equipment or anything like that that has a 12 volt, 6 volt, 24 volt, whatever, always, always, always disconnect the negative first. And what that does is it takes the ground off of the battery. It's no longer grounded to the equipment. So when I put a wrench on here, if I accidentally hit the wrench right here, it's not going to short out and cause a bunch of sparks because this battery is no longer grounded to the machine. And then go in reverse order, put the positive connection together first, put your little cap back on, and then connect the negative very last, going in reverse. So nothing's going to short out on you. So I'm going to make my positive connection here with our positive wire, and then I'll make the negative connection. So another thing we need to mention, this is a nut on this side and this bolt goes all the way through. So our connection, I want to put it on the bolt side, so when I'm tightening this nut, it's not spinning our connection around, getting it in the wrong position. I want it to come in from this side, so when I pull this little cap back over, the cap will go back over the top of that the pole there on the battery. So I always put it on the bolt side. Now on the other side, we don't have a choice. There's a screw nut that goes on here. I guess we could put it behind if we wanted to, but that's a kind of a carriage bolt there. So we're going to have to put it on this side, but it's just got that little screw nut to put it on, so it won't be too bad. Well, we made all our connections. If you've got a question as to whether you've got a positive or negative ground, see the red wire, how it goes to that electrical unit, whatever it is there. And if you trace the black wire, it goes through, comes back over here, and see where it's grounded to the motor right there. That's the way you know it's a negative ground. It's grounded to the chassis or to the motor. Well, all that's left is to plug this thing in. And I'm going to plug it in instead of running the wire underneath the frame and plugging it in that way. I'm going to plug it in here with the seat up. And that provides a good reminder that we're plugged in. And we need to unplug that before we do any work with it. So let's get her plugged in. Make sure when you're all done with your install that you put your mower back in the ready condition. Let those hydrostat cutouts, put those back in the drive position, and make sure you turn your key back off if you've released your electric brakes to move it. Once you plug it in, all the LEDs will flash after a little bit. And then once it senses everything is okay, the yellow LED will come on, and that means it's charging. And that yellow LED will stay on until you get to about a 95% charge. And then the yellow will start to flash and you'll get a green LED come on. And then once you're 100% charged, the yellow will go out and the green will stay on, meaning you're fully charged. Now, even though you're fully charged and it stops charging the battery, it still monitors the health of the battery. And if for some reason the battery declines, there's a lot of stuff that runs kind of sleep mode these days, whether it be gauges or whatever. It'll sense and it'll start charging again. Now, if you get a red LED, other than when the thing just first cycles, if you get a red LED, it means there's something wrong. You're either reverse polarity or you're the wrong voltage or whatever. This is a 12-volt charger. Now, some chargers will do 6 or 12 volt. I think all the other ones that I have actually do that. And when you first cycle up the charger, the maintainer, it'll sense what voltage the battery is and go into whatever mode it needs to be in, 6, 12, or whatever. But this one is solely 12 volts. So make sure you look at the packaging when you buy something. The maintainers that do dual voltage like that are going to cost you a little bit more, but they're more versatile. But because this is a dedicated maintainer, I didn't have to spend as much money because it's just going to stay on this machine. So that's a good tip to use if you've winterized your equipment. Make sure your battery stays charged. You want that thing ready to work when you're ready to work. You don't want to go out there and hear click, 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 and it's not going to run. That's no way to run things. So we have a video on winterizing your equipment. I'll put it up here in the corner, so you can click on that when the video is over. So I hope this video helps you out, gives you good ideas to keep your stuff up and running, ready to go. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. Come back and see us.